Fluent, period. What if I told you you've been learning English the wrong way this entire time? Think about it. You studied grammar rules, memorized verb tables, maybe even took classes for years. And yet, when it's time to speak, your mind goes blank. Why? Because knowing rules is not the same as knowing words. Now here's the crazy part. There are people who become fluent in a new language in less than a year without focusing on grammar at all. No complicate textbooks. No endless exercises. No stress. Just one simple system. And today, you're going to learn exactly how it works. Stay with me, because if you understand this, your English learning will never be the same again. Let's start with a simple question. How do children learn a language? They don't open grammar books. They don't study sentence structures. They just listen, again and again, day after day. At first, they understand nothing. Then a few words, then more words. And suddenly, they start speaking, not perfectly, not correctly, but effectively. And little by little, their grammar improves naturally. So here's the idea. What if you could copy this process as an adult? What if instead of focusing on rules, you focused on something much more powerful? Vocabulary. Words. Because words are everything. Without words, you can't understand. Without words, you can't speak. But with enough words, even broken sentences work. You can communicate, and that's the real goal. Now listen carefully. This system is built on one bold idea. If you learn 10,000 words, you can become fluent. Yes, 10,000. And before you say that's impossible, let me show you why it's not. We're going to break it into 3 simple phases. Each phase has a clear goal. Each phase builds on the previous one. And if you follow it step by step, you will see results faster than you ever imagined. Hashtag phase 1. The first 1,000 words. This is where everything begins. These are the most common words in English. The words people use every single day. Words like asterisk and asterisk, but asterisk because asterisk want, asterisk go, asterisk think, asterisk good, asterisk bad, simple, but powerful. Here's the problem most learners have. They learn sentences like, hello, how are you? My name is I am from, but they don't learn connectors. They don't learn how real conversations flow. So when someone speaks fast, they get lost. That's why this first 1,000 words is so important. It creates your foundation. Now here's where it gets interesting. Your goal is speed, not perfection, not mastery. Speed. You want momentum, because motivation comes from progress. So instead of learning slowly, you push yourself. You choose a number, maybe 20 words a day, maybe 30, maybe 50. If you're bold, even 100. Yes, 100 words a day sounds crazy, but your brain adapts faster than you think. At first, it feels difficult. Then something changes. Your brain starts recognizing patterns. Sound become familiar. And suddenly, learning gets easier. Much easier. Now let's talk about the method. This is where most people fail, because they rely on apps. They rely on passive learning. But here, we do something different. Something more powerful. You use physical flashcards. Yes, real paper. A pen. Your hands. Why? Because learning is not just mental. It's physical. When you write, you remember more. When you speak, you remember more. When you hear, you remember more. You engage your senses, and that changes everything. Here's exactly what you do. Every day, you take your list of words. You write each word on a card. One side, English. Other side, your language. Then you go through them one by one, but not silently. Out loud. Always out loud. You look at the word. You listen to the pronunciation. You repeat it. Again, 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 until it feels natural. At the beginning, this takes time, but trust me, it gets faster. Much faster. Then comes the magic part. You test yourself. You separate your cards into 2 piles. Asterisk words you got right, asterisk words you got wrong, and you repeat the process until all words are in the right pile. Then, you flip the cards and do it again. Now you go from your language to English. This is how you build real recall. Not recognition, recall. And that's what fluency needs. But here's the part most people skip, and it's the reason they fail. Every day, you don't just study new words. You review all the previous ones. Yes, all of them. Your stack grows. Day after day, it gets bigger, heavier, but also stronger. Because you're not forgetting. You're reinforcing. You're building a solid foundation. Quick tip. If a word represents something physical, use your environment. Write the word on a sticky note. Put on your chair, your door, your phone. Every time you see it, you remember. It becomes part of your life. And that's how language sticks. Now imagine this. After just a few weeks, you already know hundreds of words. You start recognizing them in videos, in songs, in conversations. And for the first time, English doesn't feel like noise anymore. It starts to make sense. Hashtag phase 2. From 1,000 to 5,000 words, now things get exciting. Because this is where understanding explodes. You already have a base. Now you expand it. But here's the key. You don't try to learn everything at once. You break it into blocks. 1,000 words at a time. Focus. Finish. Move on. And here's where something amazing happens. Your input starts turning into output. At first, you only understand. Now you start speaking. Maybe slowly. Maybe incorrectly. But you speak. And people understand you. That's a huge moment. At this stage, you also add something new. Exposure. You start listening more. Watching more. Reading more. Not as study, but as experience. Music. Podcasts. Movies. Even if you understand only 30%, that's enough. Because your brain is connecting the dots. Here's a powerful trick. Pick a topic. For example, food, travel, shopping. Learn 10 to 15 extra words about that topic. Now, when you hear a conversation about it, you understand more. And that feels incredible. That feeling is what keeps you going. And let's be honest, there will be days you feel tired, days you don't want to study. That's normal. But here's your reminder. You're not starting from zero anymore. You've already built something. And every new word is adding to your power. Now, quick pause. If you're starting to see how powerful this system is, hit that subscribe button. Because on this channel, Fluent, we break down English in a way that actually works. No confusión. No wasted time. Just results. All right, let's continue. Hashtag phase 3. From 5,000 to 10,000 words, this is where you become truly fluent. But I won't lie to you. This is the hardest phase. Why? Because now, words are not simple anymore. They're more specific, more detailed, sometimes more confusing. You'll find words with similar meanings. Words that change depending on context. And this can slow you down. But here's the good news. You're no longer a beginner. You are trained. Your brain is faster, stronger, more efficient. So even though it's harder, you're better. At this stage, something incredible happens. You start noticing grammar without studying it, without forcing it. You hear patterns. You copy them. You use them naturally, just like a child. And now, you speak more. You try more. You make mistakes. And that's good, because mistakes are proof that you're using the language. But remember, vocabulary is still your base. Your daily habit continues. Flashcards, review, repetition, no shortcuts. Consistency wins. Always. Now imagine this moment. You're watching a movie without subtitles, and you understand. Not everything, but enough. You follow the story. You laugh at the jokes. You feel the emotion. That's fluency, not perfection. Understanding, communication, confidence. And here's something most people don't realize. Native speakers don't use complicated language. They use simple words. Very well. And that's exactly what you're building. So if you ever feel overwhelmed, remember this. You're not trying to learn everything. You're building step by step, word by word, day by day. Now, before we finish, I need to give you the most important advice of all. If you ignore everything else, don't ignore this. Use your senses. Speak the words. Hear the words. Write the words. Feel the process. Don't be passive. Be active. Because language is not something you watch. It's something you do. And if you follow this system, really follow it. Not for a week, not for a month, but consistently, your English will change. Faster than you expect. So here's your challenge. Start today. Pick your number. 10 words, 20 words, 50 words. But start, because 1 year from now, you'll either say, I wish I had started, or I'm glad I did. The choice is yours. And remember, fluency is not magic. It's not talent. It's a system. And now, you have it. Fluent, period.